The James Harden rumor mill is on fire, and the latest development says a team could potentially pay him how much in free agency? We will break all of it down here on Philly Take with RB.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into the show. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Be sure to subscribe. Also, ring that bell down below. That way you don't miss any of the videos or live streams. I could not believe my eyes when the latest report came out today talking about James Harden and how much potential money a team could be willing to pay him in free agency. We'll talk about whether the Sixers should be involved in that discussion. Should they try to keep James Harden? Should they try to run it back? Should they not? Should they go a different route? We will talk about all of it here on the show. But before we do so, shout out to the partner of today's video, Mint Mobile. Shout out to the partner of today's video, Mint Mobile. If you out there are similar to everyone else in the world who has thought to themselves at one point, why is my wireless bill so high? Then Mint Mobile is for you. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 per month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network and keep costs low because they sell directly to you online, cutting out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? You can go and use that money to treat yourself to a Sixers game or even buy a new jersey. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. They even offer super affordable family plans with as little as 2 lines. And switching to Mint is super easy thanks to their digital eSIM cards. You can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will actually ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process will only take about 15 minutes. And if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to help you through it. So if you are interested in reliable coverage and fast data for a fraction of the cost, go to mintmobile.com/PhillyTake. You can go right down to the description of this video and click the link, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. All right, man, we need to get right into this. James Harden, according to the latest report, could be worth more than $200 million. Right now, the Sixers are actually able to give him a $201 million contract extension, 4 years. Brian Windhorst reporting per ESPN that there's, quote, an appetite around the NBA for James Harden landing a 4-year contract. Well, if there's an appetite, I'm not hungry. I am not hungry, and I'm going to tell you why. This came out a few days ago, and this is kind of a follow-up report that James Harden would opt out of the player option. We talked about that for $35 million, and he wants a 4-year deal. And I said on the last show, should the Sixers give him a 4-year max? The answer is absolutely not. Chris B. Haynes says that James wants to compete and, quote, have the basketball freedom for the star to be himself. And Daryl Morey, like I said in that press conference, wants to bring James back. That is his number one goal. You know, that's his guy. And right now, if you are the Philadelphia 76ers, you are looking at a very, very, very tough situation. But I'm here to tell you guys, Daryl Morey cannot think, not even think for a second, about paying James Harden $50 million per year. And let's talk about this a little more, man. Let's go over to the Sixers contracts and look at it all. Here's James Harden, the player option, $35.6 million. Again, I want to start off by saying this. I appreciate what James has done. I believe he has been the best star that Joel has ever had to play with. And, you know, James has been a true professional, a true teammate this year. But when it mattered most, when the lights were bright, he did not show up. Now, again, Joel didn't show up. James didn't show up. The team didn't show up, and they were bounced in Game 7. They should have won the series, and they fumbled it. And I know James Harden sacrificed money this last offseason. I know he gave up some bucks to bring in PJ Tucker and Daniel House and all this stuff. At the end of the day, the Sixers are in a tough situation. They need to get better, not only in the short term, but in the long term. They don't have a lot of assets to do so. And paying James Harden $50 million after he was one of the guys that went out there with the bright lights and did not show up when it mattered, that would be handicapping this team. That would absolutely be handicapping this team. I know there's people out there that say he showed up for 2 of the games. He had 40-plus point games. They were magnificent. They were electric. Some of the best performances I've seen. However, Game 3, when I was there watching it, you know, he folded. James Harden did not play well in Game 3. He also didn't play well at the end of Game 6. He didn't play well in Game 7, so it equals out. I don't understand this whole math equation where, oh, well, he had 2 great games. Yeah, he had a bunch of bad games. So did Joel Embiid. They need to make tough decisions. Now, Would I take James Harden back on maybe a 2-year deal again with a player option? Absolutely. I would definitely consider that. However, that's not what James wants. The report all year long, from the Christmas report to the March report to the playoffs, everything has talked about James Harden potentially going back to Houston this offseason. They have a lot of cap space. They'd be a team that could potentially pay him, bring him back home. And if they want to pay a 4-year max, then go ahead. Here are the Sixers contracts. You know, you got Joel Embiid with the Supermax going to kick in. This contract right here, in my opinion, the first move must be this. Tobias Harris, $39 million, 1 year left. You have to find a way to get that expiring contract off the books. And, you know, you have James Harden. If you were to go out and pay him $50 million per year, it would not make sense for this team. It would kind of be in line with what they've done before, overpaying. James Harden is 33. They're actually a lot of the Harden fans on Twitter who were trying to defend paying him $50 million. And, you know, I think the whole discourse around this is, what is the direction of the Sixers? If Daryl Morey indeed wants to still compete next year, okay, you bring James back, but you're not going to have a lot of room to go out and get other players as well. Is this team going to improve enough this offseason to say, okay, they're a competitor, they can compete next year? If you could find a way to make that happen, if you can get a two-way wing in here, a guy that can complement these players and, you know, maybe push this team over the top, okay, but I just have a hard time to believe, you know, that that's going to happen. I mean, Tobias Harris is definitely hindering right now. And don't forget, on this list, you have Tyrese Maxey, who's about to get paid. So that's going to be another contract. I just don't see any way that you can pay James Harden. Even somebody was trying to defend paying James Harden by saying that, well, Jaylen Brown's going to get $60 million. I understand the market value and the timing of things. The difference is that a guy like Jaylen Brown is 26 years old. Jaylen Brown has led his team to multiple Eastern Conference Finals and been a huge part of that. James Harden is 33 years old, and you want to pay him until he is 37, 38, $50 million a year. It makes absolutely no sense. It's like, would you rather the worst situation, or would you rather the worst temporary situation but get better in the future, right? Like, okay, we have to pay James Harden. No, we don't. Nobody has to pay James Harden. All right. I would rather at that point explode and rebuild and get a bunch of assets and get better for the future. Why hinder yourself if your ceiling is still going to be the second round? Unless you think James is going to show up in the playoffs and then you can trade Tobias for another valuable player and get this team over the top. It's almost like taking a step forward to eventually know you're going to take 3 steps backwards. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. And, you know, again, going back to this conversation, it's like, is it worth contending for the Sixers this upcoming year? I think there's some tough decisions that have to be made. I don't think people realize it. I know Daryl Morey said a lot of things about building around Joel, getting this team right. I think the head coach, whoever they hire, is going to really determine a lot. But Daryl Morey has to put his friendship aside, and he needs to do business here and tell James Harden, look, we're trying to make this team better. I know you sacrificed last year. I know you did a great thing. You were a great teammate, and you had a great season. But in the playoffs, when it came up for the big-time moments, you and Joel Embiid came up short. And I just can't go out there and pay you $50 million to do that again. Right now, the Sixers are in a very tough situation. It's like you're kind of like teetering back and forth. You don't know which way to go. And really, I mean, it's, you know, I could make a case for either one. If you go in and you start to pay these guys and you go out and you try to make a big trade, you have to make sure that it can really put you in conference final and NBA final contention next year. Because right now, let's be honest, the Sixers roster does not look good. That, you know, from top to bottom, it does not look that valuable. It does not look that filled with talent, right? You look at the bench, the Sixers need a better bench as well. Some of those guys came up very shallow in the big time moments. And, you know, part of that is not drafting and developing young talent. Part of that is not using the right guys. Hopefully the next coach, and maybe the first question in an interview would be, will you play young players? Because this is how you build championship rosters, right? Look at the Celtics. Look at the Nuggets. Look at Miami. They got undrafted guys. They have first, second, third year players out there making the most of their valuable minutes because they are using their assets. The Sixers need to do that. They don't have a lot of draft picks now. They have to fit into a tight space here, and they have to make a tough decision. But I would not, by any means, be willing to pay James Harden $50 million a year for the next 4 years. I think that would absolutely hinder your franchise. Is this true? I don't know. There's a lot of reports going out, but There seems to be more steam rolling with this James Harden report. And anytime Windy talks about James Harden, it seems to have some truth to it. Should the Sixers want to contend next year? Is it time for them to get rid of it and blow it up? Or should they try their best to do a retool, get a coach in here, see how things work, and try to make this work one more time with a couple of underrated pieces? I want to know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. With that being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.